I'm going to go back.
Did you surface those?
Not all of it, but some of it is. This journey started for me with this character I call Starfish Man, and it was a drawing that I did in graduate school. I needed a little figure, and I just sort of drew this blob with arms and stubs on the bottom for feet. And then I ended up continuing to use that in presentations. And so it was for me to try to figure out how in the world am I going to do Starfish Man in SOLIDWORKS. I went on and did a variety of other things, starting out trying to do these little figures, and they all turned out to be way more complex than they should have been in terms of molding things. So I went to do simpler things, a little more abstract, and work towards actually making them. Graphics makes a huge difference. Putting decals on things was great. And then, but one thing I discovered is that you can often draw something and have no idea what it is. You think you do. When you try to execute it, it might be interesting and unique, but it may have also no resemblance to what you originally did. Also, simple things can be the most difficult in terms of figuring out exactly how I want the surfaces to go. What do I want the highlights to do? Where do I want the curves to go? And one of your biggest problems in surfacing things will be to figure out what really do I want to do. You often don't know that. In the first, perhaps, 5 or 10 tries of trying to model something are really about trying to figure out what is actually going on. But I have a variety of parts and pieces now that I just sort of throw together and can use to do different things. I try to use surfaces and solids as I draw things to try to do little product ideas. They're mostly just explorations. How can I have a smooth transition from one of these circles to another one? It's not a fillet. Fillets don't give me what it is that I want to do. So I just continue to work with drawing little doodles and making little objects and surfaces. But it's fun. What else? Oh, simple doodle again. Get into SOLIDWORKS and work it out. Even though it looks like it might be a surface or a solid shape with a fillet, getting the transitions I want from one form to another, I really work with surface. This has kind of gone back to my world of solids, now trying to figure out how do I get fillets. I discovered one thing where, depending upon, of course, the order that I do fillets in, sometimes it gives me what I want, sometimes it doesn't. And this is a case where I was able to get what I wanted with fillets. Okay, back to Starfish Man. So, I'm going to do a short demo today. Hopefully we're going to end up with... Let's see, let me open up this one first. I'm wondering if it's down here behind this. Yes, that's where it is. Okay, so let me open up this one. And let me open up this one where I think we're headed. Alright. We're going to tackle, hopefully here today, just sort of this front half. Belly and legs and arms. I'm just going to show you some simple techniques that I use. This one does not have a back. I did them separately, so we're only going to worry about the front half. So if we go back to Starfish Man for a second, if you take a solid form and try to drive these legs up into the form, what I was finding is that I didn't get what I call this smile belly. I didn't get the punch. I didn't get that sort of roundness underneath that I was looking for. And I also discovered that there was no way I was going to create. I figured if I had the right combination of upper form and lower form, somehow I would magically get this smile. But it didn't really matter. No matter what I tried, I wasn't going to control that in the way I wanted to. So surfacing for me was really the way to go. So I'm go ahead and just open a new file. And you don't have to follow along, but I think it will be simple enough to where you can. So I'm going to pick the front plane, and I'm just going to make a new sketch. I'm not going to worry about dimensions in any way, but I'm going to grab the center line and draw some guidelines. A short one off to the left and a tall one kind of here in the middle. And then I'm going to draw a spline in between both of those. And that's what I'm going to shape now to give me my basic body shape. So I'm going to put a constraint here on this top handle, make it horizontal so it just stays tangent across the center line. And I'm going to create a curve. I want it to be a little bit taller than this. Great. I have my spline arc. And so I'm going to go, I don't know if you have a surfaces tab, but I set mine up so that I have a surfaces tab. I'm going to do a revolved surface using this center line, and I'm going to make it mid-plane and 180 degrees. There we go. So I only need to do half. So it's expanded both sides. By calling it mid-plane, it's going to go both sides of my arc. I only want it to do 180 degrees. Boom. There we go. So there's my half of my body shape. Do I need to wait for anybody, or are we there?
How did you constrain the handle on the top?
Oh, how do I so if I go back in here to my sketch, what I did is I selected the handle, and over here under add relation, I had horizontal, vertical, or fixed, and I just clicked horizontal.
Oh, okay.
And then so it's just going to constrain that. Now, this is too fat. It's the curvature, or it's the side curvature, but I don't want a full circle. So I'm going to go Insert, Feature. Oh, there it is. Scale. And I'm going to uncheck Uniform Scaling because I only want to scale it in the Z direction about 85%, and I'm going to scale it about the origin instead of the centroid. Now, it doesn't really matter for this stage we're in, but I kind of like my origin to remain constant. So if I say check, boom, it didn't change. So if we look at it from the front, it didn't change this dimension at all. But if we look at the top, it's now more egg-shaped. I've just squished that. I mean, if I want to go into scale, I could go like 0.5, and you'd really see the difference. But I just am going to go to 0.85. Make it just...
Do you use the scale command?
I use the scale. Insert, feature, scale. And I might be you'll see that I maybe find things in an odd place. Because sometimes I use the menu, sometimes I use the pictorial, the iconic commands, but anyway. So I use the scale tool. 0.85. All right. Now, if I go back, actually, let me go back to Starfish Man for just a second. Here we go. I don't have the file loaded, but one of the frustrations that I found was that wanted to have a consistent surface all the way down the side. And anytime I chopped it here, it wouldn't matter if I did curvature, continuity, or all kinds of things. I would get a break. It wasn't quite the same. So that's why I've done this sort of large arc on the outside. I want to have that consistent surface all the way up and down. So we're going to make an initial trim. So on my front plane, I'm going to create a sketch. And I'm going to create just a little short spline right here. And I'm going to try to make it, somewhat concentric. A little tighter on the bottom with this curve on the outside. And then I'm going to grab a 3-point arc. Yep. Okay, go back to your original sketch. Let's look at it straight on front. Which line did you pick for your axis of rotation? Okay. So let's edit feature instead of that sketch. Let's get out of that sketch. Not the scale. Oh yeah. Let's look at your it's your scale is wacky. No, because you scaled your x by 2, and you want to scale your z by 0.85. 0.85.
What does scale do exactly?
If it's less than 1, it's going to squeeze it. If it's more than 1, it's going to grow it.
The entire object of art.
But I did not use uniform scaling. I only scaled it in the z direction. So it only squished that axis. Now, I need to make sure that this is tangent right here. So I'm going to set up a relationship where the center line of that arc is right below, or it's vertical across there. So I know that the center line is right on the center plane, so that is going to be tangent as it goes across.
You show how you added that relation?
Yes, I can.
Whoa.
So I just drew that arc randomly. And so now what I said, so I just went into add relation, and I'm going to clear my selections. I picked the center point, and I picked this point right here. I could pick the origin, for example, but I'm just going to pick that point. I've got those 2 points selected, and I just said vertical. Okay.
Is that just one spline, or is there another thing?
I have a 3-point arc right here, and then I have just a little spline segment right here.
Make the dot vertical.
And make this dot vertical so that I know that that's the tangent point as it crosses the center line. You'll notice I'm not really defining anything with dimensions or anything like that. I don't really care at this point. We're going to do, under surface, I'm going to do a trim surface. And I'm going to set it up so that I remove sections. And I'm going to click this front spot right there. Check. So it cut that chunk right out of the front. And that's going to help me do my legs and my crotch.
You're just doing that to one side?
Just to one side. I mean, I could do it to both, but I'm not going to do the back. I'm just going to do the front. So go to add relation. No, you're displaying them. Add relation. Select the center point, center line. Yeah, that line.
That you select.
And the center line of the arc. Center line. So I go back. That's right there. And say I want those to be vertical. Okay.
Does it really make sense?
Check.
Or is it just get it over here?
Yeah. And then cut it out.
and then do a surface trim. Trim surface. Now, I'm going to build a leg, at least the front half of a leg. So I'm going to start here on the bottom, which I believe for me is my top plane. So I'm going to pick my top plane, and I'm going to do a sketch. But I'm going to view it from beneath. From beneath. There we go. Now, grab a spline and connect it to that bottom corner. And let me just rough this in here for a second. I want this to be vertical. And I'm going to just sort of drag this up. And what I want this to be tangent across that from my spline onto that surface. If you go to add relationship, and I'll clear my selections, and I select the handle to the spline, and I select this curve, you would think that I could say, hey, make that tangent. The moment I do that, it goes, and says, yeah, it says, when I go to click tangent. No, you selected the curve. Oh, maybe that's how I can do it. Huh, that's interesting. Let's try that. Let me try that. I'm going to select the curve and that curve and say tangent. And it works!
What was your work?
You're learning
Yeah,
too.
that's awesome. I'll show you the workaround. I'll show you my workaround. So let me undo that. Here's a workaround. Thank you, Tabor. That's awesome. Okay. Here's my workaround. What I do is I take a center line, and I make that center line tangent, and it doesn't at that. And then I take the handle and that and make them collinear. And that works.
If you click on the curve on the surface for entities, then it'll go tangent.
Okay. Awesome. So anyway, regardless of how you do it, you're going to need this to be tangent in order for your surface to be smooth. Okay. All right. So I'm going to click that, and I'm going to get out of that sketch. I've brought it over here. I didn't set up a relationship necessarily between here, making them horizontal. I think I'm going to. I'm just going to make those horizontal. And I'm just going to close that. Okay. I need another. I'm going to make a loft. So I need another arc here at the top of the leg. This is going to be the top of the leg before I define the smile. So I need a plane. So I'm going to just create a plane. And I'm going to use my top plane as my first reference point, and this point right here as my second reference point.
Which point? The second?
This little point, it's the corner. I'm going to use that corner right in there. And then let's go into sketch right there. But I'm still going to look at it at the bottom. Now, let's do the same thing, creating an arc with a spline. But I'm going to create it up and outside of the other one. So it should be connected to the upper corner, right there. I'm going to also make this tangent.
Shut up.
I don't know.
We're both locked up with each other.
Oh, you think so?
Yeah.
I don't know. I find my keys. Hey, can you be quiet? All right. So I'm gonna go ahead and make this tangent right here. Whoops. I'm gonna make it tangent to this curve because it really doesn't matter which side I'm on. It'll still be tangent to that surface.
Whoa. Been long.
Now we're going to be doing some trimming, so it doesn't have to be inside this body. But it doesn't hurt. Okay. So I've got two curves there. I'm going to get out of my sketch. And I'm going to do a lofted surface from one of these to the other one. And I'm going to use this edge as a guide curve. And I'm going to make it the guide curve tangent to this face. I used this edge right here, this edge, this little line segment right there as a guide curve. And I made sure that it was tangent across the face. So that I should have a smooth transition.
Make sure it's tangent.
Whoa.
Okay,
Is it tangency to face?
let me go back to edit the feature. So let me get rid of my guide curve for a second. So I'm going to, under guide curve, I'm going to click this surface right there. And then right here where it says edge 1 tangency to face. And it worked because my curves were tangent at those points. If my curves aren't tangent, it'll say, hey, I'm more than 2 degrees off. I can't estimate a tangency. So I'll do my best, but I can't guarantee anything.
Is there a reason why I have a lip right there? If I go to that sketch there,
Are you actually tangent?
I just set a tangent
No.
to this right here.
Yeah, that should be fine. But I'm not sure that that point is on that corner. Oh, you should set a tangent to that curve right there. That the tangent curve is tangent
So,
to.
double check.
I can't get my second one.
Okay. Well,
I can always
you know what? It's not
guesstimate.
going to matter with what we're going to do next.
I'll just go like that.
You got a little lip.
Yeah,
I'm not going to worry about it because we're gonna get rid of that. Yep.
Oh,
Well, but you're going to make it tangent to that. Go look at it from the bottom instead of the top. So this curve that I can show.
yeah.
And like have a deal around the curve.
Right there.
They never told us to do it because it takes longer.
It's just because I was standing there. Okay, so there's my leg. And the reason I overbuilt it is because we're going to chop it off we're gonna chop it off because I want both. This guy's gonna have closed legs, not gonna have open legs. So his legs will be together. Now I'm gonna build my smile. So on the front plane, I'm gonna make a new sketch. And I'm going to take just a 3-point curve. Oh, actually, let's trim it to the center line first. So I'm not going to take a 3-point curve. I'm just going to draw a straight line, and we're going to trim off this extra bit right here. Because we're going to do 2 trims. Surface trim, remove that section right there.
What plane did you sketch?
I sketched on the front plane, and I just did a line right up the center. And it can be short. I just use that as a trim tool.
Okay, it's giving me the 2-degree error thing.
Okay. So, one of those guys. Yeah, but you know what? For the time being, I would just build your surface without a big tangent there, and we'll just keep going.
Okay, stuff it would be 2 degrees.
Okay, so now make another sketch.
You trim the surface.
I used trim surface, and I removed the stuff that was on the other side of the center line. Now, let's do another sketch on the front plane. And this is where I'm going to choose my 3-point arc. And I'm going to grab that little corner. And I want to do the same thing again, where I guarantee that this center line, get rid of that arc, this center point is right over the top of that. There we go. And I'm going to dimension that actually, because I'm going to play with it just a little bit. Great. We'll leave it at that. We'll be good. Now let me trim surface again. This time I'm going to remove this top part. And I have my little smile.
You make a line. How do you cut this one off?
Okay, I had to make a sketch on the front plane. I just did a little line on the front, and then did trim surface. So, sketch on the front plane. And just draw
The center line.
no, a solid line. Yeah, just and then go to surface, trim surface.
So it's
Trim
trim
surface.
Yes, so.
Now you gotta cut your smile. Front plane and do an arc. One corner being right there on that little bit. Yeah, isn't that a hassle going back and forth? Okay, let's define the belly, the back of the belly, or this middle line. So on the right plane, or that whatever center plane you're going to do, I'm going to look at it from the other side. I'm going to draw a spline from there down to there.
So you did a right plane sketch?
Yep, right plane sketch. I'm going to take that, learning my new skill. That's awesome. And make it tangent right there to the upper part of the torso. And then I'm going to grab this. I'm going to just sort of drag it out the way I know I kind of want this is I want it to come out here beyond this leg. It does not have to be horizontal or anything like that. So it's not going to be down here. So I'm just going to drag that out enough to make my belly curve. And I'm going to do an extruded surface the other direction. About half. Because that'll set things up for my fill surface, for my belly surface. That I'll work on.
But we're doing that on purpose? Oh, to fill it in.
To fill it in, I'm going to fill in that belly.
This corner piece you're saying?
Yeah, we're going to fill in that corner.
So you can't just surmise your outline, you have to have an actual edge for the boundary.
It's what you'll find if I just do a sketch, because a fill surface, the three-sided or the odd-sided surfaces, the fill surfaces won't let me define tangency with a sketch. So I need an edge to be able to, when I mirror it over, it will be smooth across the belly. So I do a surface there so that I can say make it tangent to that surface.
Can you go back and do this step again?
Yes, I can.
No.
You do these same things more easily in like programs that go about it with like the squishing and pulling and manipulating that way. Or you still get the same results.
I like to be able to define things. And so even though right now I'm not doing dimensions and things like that, I like to be able to go back and say, ultimately, I want to pull this handle out so far. I want to measure and I want to be able to adjust, because what I find is that my models often crash when not crash, but they surfaces wig out, and I've got to be able to tweak and adjust relationships for it. Okay, that's where it works. The math on some of those programs, the surface math might be better and more forgiving. But it's still a question of understanding the relationships of these surfaces. Some relationships work, some relationships don't. And it wouldn't matter what the math was driving them. It's still, I'd have to sit there and nudge and pull and twist and pull. I'd rather just do it with numbers. All right, so Camilla, do you get what I did here?
What did you put the tangencies on?
Okay, so that's what I needed to know. So I'm going to edit the sketch. And what I made this spline tangent to this arc right here. And then I had no tangencies down here. Because I want a crease. I want a fat crease right at the top of their thigh.
Is that little, like, thing that's coming around, is it on the right plane then?
It's on that center plane. This right here.
Yeah, but the one underneath where your thing that we cut out wraps around, is it also
This line right here?
ending on the right plane?
Yes. Maybe you missed that trim.
Yeah, I missed
We
the
did a
trim.
trim.
Okay.
We did a trim right on that plane. Okay, go to the front plane. Front plane and make a sketch. Okay, now just draw a line. So vertical line. Yep. And then say trim surface. Okay. So then I went back and I made an extruded surface, 1/2 inch out that other way. Okay, I'm going to make the belly. This is where I'm nervous because, yeah, I mean, and it fails in quite an odd way. So I'm going to do a filled surface, and I'm going to click that edge, this edge, and that edge. No, I got edges. Luckily enough, I got edges. Okay, so I just clicked it, but now I need to go back on edge 1, which is this top. I need to make it tangent. And edge 2, I need to make it tangent. There we go. So now it's tangent across this face from surface to surface, and here from surface to surface. Here I just want it contact, because again I want that crease. I want that belly crease.
Oh, you select all and that's why you extend that random plane out, is because it needs
In order to declare tangency, I've got to have a surface.
Mine's showing up as a sketch instead of this.
Okay, it's not. I mean, you're right, it is. But what?
I didn't know what that did.
So that's essentially the no change. Yeah, it's just
Top and side. So they made this edge tangent on
because sometimes it has that sketch in memory for some reason.
Why does it do sketch? I mean, it's sent you a question.
Yeah. So delete that. Whoops. So because the sketch is still visible, but you can right click on that and say select other and click use edge. There you go. Now you have the edge. Okay, fantastico. All right, I'm going to hide this by right-clicking and clicking the glasses. I'm just going to hide that. Let's go ahead and see what it looks like. I'm going to mirror it. Insert, pattern mirror, mirror. I'm going to mirror these bodies. I don't want to mirror features. I want to mirror bodies. And I'm going to mirror them across the right plane.
I don't know where you did that.
Why do you mirror it before you knit it together?
Because if I knit it together, that means I have to create a face. I have to enclose all my surfaces before I knit it. So I just want to see what it looks like, actually. And I'm happy. Yay! Yours might be disastrous. I don't know. But I'm happy with mine.
It's like a cute butt. That's
Yeah.
Is the mirror in the surfaces?
No. So let's delete that. So I go to Insert Pattern Mirror. Is where I get it.
And then you select there.
Then I mirror bodies, surface bodies or solid bodies, and I'm going to select my right plane as my mirror plane.
Where it says bodies to mirror.
Bodies. I want to mirror. Yeah, select bodies to mirror. There you go. And then you have to do a plane to mirror it, which will be your right plane.
I'm only getting them.
And you haven't knitted the surface.
I haven't knitted the surfaces. Mirror.
Too much.
Whoa. No, just so okay.
It's a little belly.
Now, what you want to do is go back to your mirror and deselect that surface. So
That's
edit
because
feature.
under here you made a scoop right here. And you want to create a butt. You can
And then hide that surface by right clicking on it.
right? Instead of
And it's the sunglasses. That's why it's hide that
so
surface.
you can make a butt
Yes, you can make a butt.
if it's curved.
If it's not, and if it's not, well, you can make a butt by not making it tangent there and having it curve in. So by taking this curve right here and defining it as a tighter curve closer to the body, it will curve in.
If you want it to be like a
Yes, I made a butt the other day in preparation for this.
Butt.
Yeah. Okay.
Just make a bunch of different shapes with butts.
Okay. All right. How we doing?
I'm trying to imagine how I could actually do something on my own. Like thinking
You know what?
through this.
Play.
Yeah.
I have only learned this through play. Like, I really want to make Starfish Man. How in the world am I going to do that? Yes.
The one thing I have noticed in different sorts of programs is it's more efficient like this to work on a half,
Half.
like work in halves.
That's going to guarantee symmetry.
Yeah.
If I said worked back half, front half, if I'm working with splines, SOLIDWORKS does not allow you to dimension the end of that spline point. And so my splines on both sides, what I'll do is often draw a little baseline as a judge, and I'll get close, but they're not going to be exactly the same. But I can guarantee right and left curvature or symmetry if I just do it half on the left side and then switch over to the right. Okay, I just wanted to see. I'm gonna go back beyond. I'm gonna what's that called? I'm going to drag my little line back up above the mirror. Because we're going to put an arm in. And I want that to mirror over. So I'll just go back before the mirror. And we'll work on putting in that arm. Now, in order to do that, we're going to put a curve on the right plane. Or a sketch on the right plane. I'm going to take this midpoint line right here. Midpoint line. And I'm going to come up here right directly above the origin. And I'm just going to drag this midpoint line. It's horizontal. Awesome. It's midpoint with that center line. Great. And I'm going to put a spline with a point on the bottom right above my origin. I'm going to adjust. You could probably do one or both. I've learned that I can't leave anything up to the computer because sometimes what it does is it messes up the math. So I'm just going to make sure that all of my handles are blue instead of gray. I'm probably going to lengthen out. I'm going to lengthen this out a little bit. Maybe I'll push that up. All right, I'm happy with that fat arm. So let's trim that surface out. Whoops. There we go. Trim that out. Make a hole. I got a hole there. And then I gotta get the contour. I gotta get this shape of the arm. So I'm going to go on the front plane. I'm also going to, make a sketch. And I'm going to grab a spline. And come out here and just drag that out. I'm just going to eyeball my tangency. Whoops. Before I do that, let's make sure that the end of this spline is really on this curve, and I'm going to make a pierce relationship. There and here. Yeah, see, I was off. Pierce. So I'm going to eyeball this tangency. I can show you a way to probably actually make it tangent, but I'm not going to do it at first. Whoops, get out of there. Back. Great. I'm going to make a... Oh, I got to get out of there first. There. Now I'm going to make a filled surface. I'm going to use this edge and this edge to make a filled surface. It's flat now. It's flat across there. And I'm going to use this spline I created as my constrain curve to just bulge that flat surface out. But I'm going to make sure that this upper edge right here is tangent. Tangent across there. So I have a smooth transition from here across to the top of that arm.
Oh, you just eyeballed it.
I just eyeballed the tangency. There's...
Did I do the sketch when I set up too? Mine's right here.
Yeah, that's hold on, but you need to use that sketch to trim a hole. So you need a line across the top. You got it. So that sketch. So get out of the current sketch you're in, and then use that sketch to trim surface. Trim surface.
I wonder what we do with Pierce relation. I mean, it says it does the relation.
If it says it does it, that curve.
Why is your arm weird?
The
like that?
constrained curve.
You did a fill surface, right?
I did a fill surface.
It's really odd. Look at his arm.
Yeah.
It's like a shriveled up.
Yeah, it's got a pinch to it, and that's where depending upon your curves, how far out you've gone. This is where now let me play with those surfaces. I would actually probably push that one shorter and pull the other one out. Pull that one out. Bend it down just a little bit. Yeah, do that. Let's see how it works.
I was just curious.
Okay. Now, I'm going to go back to my mirror, and I need to edit it to add the arm that I just did. Now, let me explain just a bit why, when we first started, I did this large arc right here. When I first did a little form like this, I didn't do this big curve. I just defined my smile and said I want my belly to go from this line here down. That's all I really need to worry about. I had a really hard time getting that surface to work out, and I just woke up one day and said, if I had a larger surface with which to carry that transition over from the chest down to the belly, if I could just come up and cut that out, then I'd have a bigger surface. That I'd have a smooth, my chances of success would be greater. And so that's the reason this arc is in there, so that this surface could just have a little bit more distance with which to try to figure it out. Okay, so I got my transition. Let's put a cap on the bottom. I'm going to use a planar surface. And I'm just going to select these edges. Check. And cap that off. So now I have an enclosed volume. So now I can go in and knit completely. And if I say knit surface, select all my surfaces, and say try to form solid, I undo the gap control. Now I can see up here solid bodies. I have a solid body.
Boom.
What you did is when you trimmed this surface, you selected the size. Yes. So you go back to surface trim right here. Well, scroll back. Yeah, you right click on it. Edit feature. Deselect. Is that the side? You don't want to face that side. So if you
Plus
then it'll actually thread into it. On the purple. Which one of those do you want to look? Which is the fourth and which is the best? You did both. So you only need to do one. Open up the bottom of that curve. Make the bottom of that arm. Make the bottom of that arm wide. Okay. So I've got my solids. Now I can start doing fillets. What a nightmare this portion is. You will find that it does not like surface or filleting. See, like it says, oh, I don't want to do that. I've found that if I select, maybe it's not going to do it at all. Okay, it says I don't like 0.1. So let me try a surface fillet. or a face fillet, and just see if that works. Okay, it's going to take that.
So you filleted
Awesome.
that one spot first. Maybe?
I filleted the thigh crease
Wait, where did you go
First.
for the surface fillet?
face fillet. Face fillet. And under the fillet command. Okay. And then this is face fillet right there. So you select two groups of faces. So that would be one group, and then the pink. Oh, and your fillet is way too big. Oh, maybe click that surface in there as well. So you missed that one. I'm not sure it likes. You might not like your butt.
Yes.
All right, then I'm just going to fill it around the arms.
You filleted the under the belly by selecting the faces.
I filleted it, and see, it doesn't like my fillet here with the arms. I'm going to just try smaller for a second. Still didn't like that. Let me try face fillet. Okay, like that. Let me try 0.1. See if I can get that to do that.
So, how do you make it so it isolates the part you want to fillet?
Didn't like that.
Because like if I isolate these faces, you don't want to fillet like every
No, it's not. Not if you're doing a face fillet. There you go.
So if I select these,
So deselect. Yeah, make all of these your pink faces, or blue faces, doesn't matter. And then the other ones are those two.
so it only takes the intersection.
And it's only going to go with that dimension. It's only going to go halfway.
I think it's only showing halfway. Yeah, it was just showing halfway.
Oh wait, it went the whole way.
Yeah.
Oh great. All right. So in the last few minutes, let me take this in and render it. I'm going to turn on perspective. And for those that don't know how to tweak their perspective, if you go under View, Modify, Perspective, you're going to get a number. Usually it defaults to 3, which is a pretty flat perspective. 1 is a much more dynamic perspective. If you drop the number down. And I'm going to assign a material. I'm just going to use, you're welcome, low gloss white. Let's see if on my preview window, see if it turns into low gloss white. Nope, it's not giving me low gloss white. Let me try this again. There we go. I know what I did wrong. Select the whole part.
I just did it on the other side.
There we go. Let me talk about lighting for just a second. All right. I always just use the 3-point faded default. And I edit the scene to turn off my background. So I use none under image. And I get rid of floor reflections. So I just have a plain white background, simple shadow underneath. And then I go in and I rotate my environment to try to find a better lighting source than what they've given me. And I actually have found, strangely enough for me, that whenever my shadow starts to come forward just a little bit, I usually have a pretty good lighting scheme on light on this side, dark on this side, but I'm catching enough light on this to show the difference between here and there, and still catching dark along that back edge. So I just rotate my environment around until I find a lighting scheme that defines my form like I want. Now you have to use you know how they do here, and it's just cross section, select all my strings. And now you have a solid. No, you have to knit your circuits together. Select all your. Just drag a box around the control. There you go. Oh, it's not letting me try to form a solid. Once you get both, now try to form a solid. And you have a solid box. Okay. So now you can fill it. Okay. There's a tutorial, which is death. Because a tutorial doesn't necessarily apply to anything you do. But it just shows you how I kind of go through and use surfaces. But much of it has to do with knowing what I want to do first. I'm working on a form right now where I thought I knew what I wanted. But the moment I start getting into building it, I realize I don't know what it is. I don't know how to define it. And so I'll spend, like say, 3, 4, 5 models to try to figure out, well, do I want this? Do I want this? Do I want this? Oh, that's getting closer. What am I doing? What trade-offs do I have to make? I can't get this part and this part.
So when you're going through those iterations, do you typically start over from scratch, or do you save it?
What I'll usually do is like, point 1, point 2, point 3, and then at some point, then I scrap it all and say, I think I know what I want, and I'll start from scratch. And then I go, oh, I could have done it a different way. And so then I'll try multiple versions to try to get there. Now that doesn't work for an assignment. Like, okay, it's got to be due on Monday. I just need to get it done any way I can. But when I'm trying to understand how to build things simpler or cleaner or get the transitions I want, it's a good learning experience. Sometimes I end up going back to like version 0.3 and say, you know what, that was really the one I should have used.
Yeah.
I have a question.
Sure.
Or maybe just a hint. Like, I'm trying to figure out how to, like, peel a surface. So, like, if you cut like a cross on paper, how you can peel the corners up.
Yeah.
Can you give me a hint as to maybe like a tool or some method that you've used before to do that? To either have like a shape, coming out and kind of ripping that surface.
You'll need to have a curve and then be able to bring that curve back. So you won't be able to build it and then peel it. You have to build in the peel. And that just means you're going to have to take your spline and get the curve that you want.
I don't know why it sounds.
It's a build in the peel. Okay, McKay, I'm gonna turn off the recording.
Just don't log out. It's saving it to the documents folder, and
Okay.
I want to export it. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.